Okay, welcome to the New Legend podcast, where we are discussing some fascinating things today. And I'm with, what a special treat, with two friends of mine. Not a planned podcast. So these guys were in town. We've hung out on some occasions. We'll talk about that. But I'm here with Abe, Barnett, and Trent Abbott from Hagerty Insurance. What's up, guys?
How you doing, man?
This is awesome.
Yes. So these guys, what's fun is we have some mutual friends who are the coolest, amazing, car passionate people ever. So,
Yeah,
great crew.
We're pretty lucky. We get to hang out with some pretty neat folks.
Yeah. Funny story. We're mutual friends with our friend Stuart, who's going to be on the show out in Phoenix. And one of my favorite memories, just hung out with him at Barrett Jackson. And dude's got a good car collection, but we're just geeking out to 1980 Pontiac Bonneville, just whatever's kind of just a passion for cars and driving. So
Yeah.
appreciate that about you guys and the Hagerty company. So I want to dig in just a little bit about, you guys are in the insurance space, but in my opinion, Hagerty is so much more. And I actually really appreciate and respect what Hagerty's all about. So why don't we just, for 2 seconds, just give us a little bit about Hagerty, kind of how you guys got connected and some of the vision behind Hagerty.
Definitely. Yeah, and I'll jump in when if you want to.
I will
Trent,
eventually.
I would term Hagerty more as an automotive lifestyle brand at this point. And as we evolve, yes, insurance is our core, moneymaker, right?
Yep.
We do so much more, and it's neat to see the founders of the organization, especially McKeel Hagerty. Mm-hmm. He's so passionate about making sure the industry itself thrives.
Yeah.
It's not about insurance or making money. It's about doing stuff correctly and right.
That's right.
And it's just amazing to see that brand be
And
built.
that's what's so important, because so what is there's something, forgive me for not knowing exactly, but there's a tagline about something about driving.
Yeah, and it's kind of our guiding beacon is to save driving.
To save driving.
And everyone in the organization is following that.
I love that.
And it's so important. As we see autonomous vehicles start to jump up and be in our face, what's the threat to that?
Right.
Are we going to be able to drive?
Okay, we're going to talk about that. So I love that as a vision and a founding principle. So it makes us as car people, we should get behind brands like that with an ethos of lifestyle and enthusiasm. And sure, insurance is a requirement, a legal requirement.
Sure.
And short of that, we put so much time, effort, love, and passion, money, all that stuff into these things, these machines, that it's really wise to have them properly covered.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of your builds that are just they're so incredible. But you have a claim with one of those with a standard carrier, doesn't understand it.
Yes.
That's bad news.
And I was telling you guys earlier, we were just kind of talking, doing a little shop tour of the Humble World headquarters here in Ames, Iowa. Just that's one top 3 questions that customers ask when we do even a swap, just any kind of touch their vehicles. They're how do I insure this thing? How do I get it properly insured? And so appreciate you guys for doing that. Okay, we start the podcast always with this question. What did it mean? You guys are both car guys. We have Trent's rad. Is it a GT3?
Yep, GT3.
Woohoo! Which is help me a little. I'm a fan, but a noob.
Yeah.
That's a street legal race car.
Yeah, basically that's a homologation car for racing. So it's a 2004 911 GT3, and we're out here for the Des Moines Concours this weekend. And
to prove my point, Trent drove this car here from Omaha.
Yep.
So it's the same ethos, man. Getting a car that's not really purpose built to be a touring car, but Tucci drove it. I love it.
No, I'm on the list for a kidney replacement after the drive-in. But
Is it a little stiff?
It's a little bumpy, but it's good. It's a lot of fun.
Have you ever had it on the track?
No, but that's coming up here in about a month.
Okay.
Looking really forward to
Dude,
that.
for sure. That's got to be a dream. I have a couple cars that I want to get to the track too. So I'm working with Stu down in Arizona to get my 80s turbo car collection down there.
Nice.
And get those beasts out on the road. I was stoked last night on Jay Leno's garage. One of the feature cars was a 1986 Chrysler Laser.
Oh, right.
I think it was actually 85.5, but I have one of those, and so I was stoked to see it on screen. It's like
Oh,
one of the
that's awesome.
talking cars. It's like, you're fasten your seatbelt.
Are you doing Bondurant? Is that where you'll go, or
I don't even know yet.
Okay.
Stu was just telling me, like, dude, I'll hook
some
you
tracks
up.
down there?
Yeah, we'll
That'd
get
be
it going.
great.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what did driving mean to you? You guys turned 16. What did it mean to get your license to actually drive?
Throwback for me. So I'm going to tell you what my first car was.
Okay, good.
So I saved up money, worked 2 summer jobs, didn't play sports one season, bought a 1994 Pontiac Grand Am,
Yeah.
2-door.
Yeah.
It was the best, 5-speed.
Yes.
That's good.
And to me, it was freedom, right? Like, I could go anywhere. I thought I was the coolest person back then, small town, tinted windows.
Yeah, baby.
But it was freedom.
So it was a 94. What year was this that you bought it?
1998.
So this is a 4-year-old car.
It's 4 years old.
Any rust on it yet?
No. It was perfect. It might
Okay.
have had 40, 50,000 miles
That's
on it,
awesome.
but it was my own.
Yes.
Like, I've saved money to pay for
That's
it.
impressive.
And it was so great. So driving to me was that freedom to go out and visit with my friends, basically open up a whole new world.
Yes.
I could go anywhere.
That's cool. How about you, Trent?
Man, I'm in the right place today.
Yes, that's what I hear.
So my mother married this tremendously great guy. And they had a fledgling business at the time. It was an international harvester business.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Coming through the great ag recession of the early 80s.
Yes.
And
So they
found-
sold like implements and stuff?
Yeah, so they were
Okay.
combines, tractors,
Yeah.
you name it, right?
I love that.
So I got put to work out in the A&H building, so assembly and handling.
Okay.
Putting together corn headers and stuff like that. I'm 14.
Yeah.
And mom and dad ended up buying this business in small town Kearney, Nebraska. It's another
Yeah.
location that, by God, the company had saved enough money to go buy this business. So they buy this place and like, son, you got to come out and see the new business. It's a half an hour drive from my hometown. So we go out there, and back in their A&H building sits this like beacon of light to me. I'm drawn like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
I'd never been around one before, but it was a 1977 International Harvester.
And you're like 14.
I'm 14.
Dude,
Yeah.
so cool.
SS2.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And it was that horrible green yellow color with the great decals on it, the Western decals.
Yeah.
And I'm like over the moon.
That is amazing.
Right. And so mom and dad have been married now for about a year.
Yeah.
So I
And
talked
did
to
this SS2 come with the business they bought?
it was out in the A&H building.
Wow.
So I asked him, I go running back into like the main part of the building. I'm like, hey, what's this Scout out here all about? Dad says, well, we bought it with the business.
Nice.
I said, I'll be 16 in 2 years. Can I have it?
Yeah.
And Dad says, well, yeah, you can have it, but you're going to have to pay me back for it.
Yep.
So I worked in the Fairbanks International Harvester business for a couple of years.
That's so
gratis
cool, man.
to get this
Yeah.
Scout. So what did that vehicle mean to me, right? So that was like...
No
it was like-
offense, Abe.
Mine sucks, right? Yeah, I get it.
94
And here we are, right?
So it meant a lot of things. I mean, this is really, we're diving in deeper than we need to, but a lot of trust with a new dad to me, right?
Yeah,
to trust me
that's huge.
to actually do this and me to trust him that he's going to make good on that. And we worked a lot on that vehicle together. And then 2 years later, when it was mine, I was 16, it was paid off. It meant pulling the top off of that thing and the doors off of that thing and running out to my new job on a farm 15 miles outside of town or to the lake 15 miles south of town.
Right.
And all the adventure that goes with having a vehicle like that. It was incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Dad sold it while I was in college.
Oh,
That was really cool of him. But so we found another
Right.
Super Scout here a
Yes.
year and a half ago.
Fun, man.
Yeah,
Isn't it cool to reconnect?
Oh God, it's the best.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, because I talk to a lot of customers and clients about this. Like, the high school them had an original Scout, but then like the 40-year-old them goes like, I want another Scout. And then they get one and they're like, dude, high school me really romanticized how well it drove and the suspension and all that stuff. You still dig it though?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, they're not inherently great vehicles.
Right.
They're just not. But, to that point, I'm fortunate enough to have some other vintage
Right.
cars in the collection. And it's a really charming drive when you're with that vehicle.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
It's the ice cream getter in our household when it's my wife and daughter and I. My daughter's now 16, and if she could drive that vehicle daily, she would.
And is it automatic or?
It's an automatic.
Okay, cool.
And they're high school Trent says, "Oh man, this is the greatest vehicle ever made."
That's right.
45-year-old Trent says, "Oh my God, we can improve a lot of things on this vehicle
That's right.
today."
And that's really where our brands come in. Like that's exactly what we do.
Absolutely.
So we take them, we go like, hey, we'll preserve that nostalgia. We'll just make them drive safer and better, and like so you can drive it from Omaha to Ames and go.
I can trust my daughter in it, right?
That's right.
Instead of just going a couple blocks, you can go.
That's right, and that's so cool. But I've had actually two other guys on the podcast who their first vehicle were Scouts. And I didn't meet them through this business. Like, I mean, kind of did through the community, but I didn't know that about them. So
Yeah, you and I found out about each other during Barrett-Jackson.
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Fun, man.
Yeah.
So, and glad you got another one. SS2s are really rad.
Yeah, that's a cool vehicle.
Yeah, I was telling these guys I've been trying to build just trying to clone an SS2. I don't really care if it's super original. I'm going to make it original. But I've been collecting parts for probably 10 years. And they're just so hard to find.
Unbelievable.
So if you're listening out there and you have some SS2 original fender flares, like hit me up. And actually, funny story. So I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but when I first discovered a Scout, I grew up in Connecticut. There was I saw one Scout in my life. Pre-18, I saw one Scout. And I was a muscle car kid, so that's all I cared about. And then moved out to California, but I was always an old car, C10 pickups. I got one of those. My dad got me one of those for my 15th birthday. Then I had a 71 Skylark. I had a 71 GMC Sprint. I had just some cool cars because they were a dime a dozen. And I knew how to work on them. Get to California, never really been off-road. Meet my now wife, and she just bought a brand new 93 YJ. That was cool. It introduced me to off-roading, but I'd never liked it. I was like, this thing's just really plain. I don't know. No offense to Jeeps.
Right.
Then my brother-in-law bought a 78 Selective Edition Scout, and I drove. It was a 345 4-speed. I drove that, fell in love instantly, bought one. Put at the time, and this is in 1998, 99, 2000, those 3 years, I put about $45,000 into it, did all the work myself, completely built the truck. That's how I became began the foundation of my expertise in Scouts. Bought anything Scout in 2002, but to raise capital, I had to sell my Scout. So I sold it for $25,000, which was a lot in 1990. In 2000, I sold it. And $25K was a lot for a Scout back then. Now it's nothing. But anyway, my wife was on Pinterest last night, and she texted me this. She's like, dude, this is your original truck, isn't it?
Saw a photo of it.
Yeah.
So
and I'm like, that
at?
is.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't. So be checking. I don't know if when the timing will work out, but I'm going to launch a campaign on all of our Instagram platforms, social media platforms, to find my original truck.
Yes.
And just bring it back into the fold. So your truck's probably long gone.
Yeah, it's a story. But last I knew it was in Texas.
You did. It's not long gone. Meaning it didn't. It's still in existence.
It's still in existence.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell I'd find it, but
It's a
it's
tough
around.
thing. Hagerty should create a service, a car help find
The hunt?
The hunt.
Go on the hunt.
Yeah.
We hunted down a car for one time, a big Dunesmobile
Really?
from northern Michigan. Yeah. Did
you find it?
Oh, yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, it was in New Mexico.
And again, so not like I want to talk about. We have some other pressing topics, but I am fascinated by some of Hagerty's ethos and what you guys do. So you guys have content, you're making helping people or sponsoring people to make videos. You're doing educational stuff. You're kind of doing sponsoring club events, drive events. You're doing all kinds of things to get people driving.
Yeah. So and we launched last year the Hagerty Drivers Club. And it's really this membership organization that centers around getting people involved. And it goes towards our mission to save driving.
Yeah.
It's we just want to make sure that everyone is involved in this. So yeah, we have a magazine we publish 6 times a year. One of the largest growing magazines in the country, if not the world.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's really well done.
Tons of content, videos. We're doing rebuilds on engines. I mean, anything you think of out there. Instagram, Facebook, all sorts.
We're talking about some fun partnership
YouTube
stuff too that we're going to do
Yes.
So I'll look forward to that. Now, one other pressing question, and trust me, these guys have some data that I hope they'll share with us. What, from your perspective, is going to be the future of driving?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Like, one, we're there to protect it, right?
Yes.
We do see a lot of, obviously, overlanding is getting more and more popular.
Yes.
So people are doing the off-road side of it. Track days,
Yeah.
going through the roof.
Okay. Interesting.
Like, people are going out and enjoying their cars. You see this rise of horsepower recently.
I know. Isn't that nuts?
You've seen this in the last few
Yeah,
years.
dude,
Like,
it's
some of
crazy.
those aren't manageable on the roads at times. So people want to go to where they can drive them. And you're going to see a big push.
What do you guys? So, because we've talked about this. If you listen to the podcast, you'll see we pontificate about this stuff till the cows come home. But so the media, driving's dead. Like, what will be the rite of passage for our kids and future generations? It'll be like our grandkids, maybe like, oh, they get to ride an Uber. Like, who
Yeah,
cares?
they get their own Uber account.
Yeah,
Someone's driving them to the...
Yeah. I don't know. Here's what I
Okay.
see. I've got a 16-year-old daughter. You've
Yes.
raised
Yeah.
kids, and Abe, you're raising kids. And I'm from Omaha, Nebraska at this point, so maybe we're different than the rest of the world. But the kids in my daughter's class, they're really excited about cars.
They are.
and they've
Okay,
been
that's
really
great.
excited to get driver's licenses. And if there's something cool that shows up at the school, the kids lose their minds.
That's good.
Omaha has
Right.
3 cars and coffees on any given weekend.
Okay.
And the amount of young kids that show up there, they're not out walking around the cars with the guys with the hoods open.
Yes.
The kids are out there with their cameras and their cell phones and all these things videotaping the cars in motion.
Yes. Interesting.
They don't care about the car sitting there. They want to hear it.
Yeah.
They want to see it in motion. So that tells me that it's not dead, and I don't think it's
Right.
going to totally die. I think there'll be some combination of autonomous vehicle at some point.
It'll probably hit cities, like major
Right.
cities
Metro.
first. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, look at Paris, right?
Yeah.
Paris, you can't drive a vintage car anymore, right?
Right.
And that's hopefully that's not
like,
us.
and I kind of envision this, like, I like to think about this too, like the hot rod culture of the 40s, just like this rebel culture. Like, dude, we're making our own gas, and like we're firing up these old cars and like running from the like cyber police and all this kind of stuff. RoboCop. And I also think the rise of, you guys both mentioned this, track days, like private. We already see it in the off-road space. There's like, for example, we're talking to a scout club in Tennessee about doing a meetup. But like, even a meetup to me, like, I don't really want to do a cars and coffee. That's great for a half hour.
Right.
But then let's go drive. Let's go
Right,
hit some trails. And as I was looking in Tennessee, every place that was like listed, I could Google search was like, and I'm sure like the locals know places, but it was all like private park A, private park B, private park C, which is great. It's great that people are opening up their land to driving. And I think tracks, like, around the country, there are tracks being built.
Private tracks all over the
Private
world.
Going
tracks.
up. And I think what we're also seeing is this desire for the experience
Yeah.
and curated experiences. And we're doing a lot of events
Absolutely.
and you do as well. It's like,
And we've been
how do you
on
bring
together.
people
Yes.
together to enjoy that stuff together?
Yeah. So
bring
let's dive into that. So these guys, like I said, I'm a muscle car guy. We just did an episode with Rob Kibbe, who runs a podcast called The Muscle Car Place, and I asked him some of these questions too, because I think there are, but you guys bring an added dimension of like, so you have muscle car culture, we have vintage 4x4 culture, but what do you call this? Like, is that exotic car? What is that? Like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
late model.
Yeah, late model exotics.
How about like the early, like 60s Aston Martin, like that? Because even like you have a couple older Porsches
Right.
as well. So what is that? What would we just generally call that culture?
Post-war sports cars?
Yeah.
Okay,
Post-war
sports, yeah,
cars.
like sports cars. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's dive into like some of the similarities, some of the differences, and some of the trends that we're seeing. You mentioned like this move towards experiential stuff. Is that I definitely see that in the vintage car space. I think Rob was saying it's definitely a thing with like autocross and like just different, even for muscle cars. Let's get out and drive these things. Track days, like quarter mile drag strips. I think a lot of drag strips are busy, man.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna go drag race the Terribles.
Yes.
Here's our
nice.
show pitch. Okay, we drag race the Terribles. We're pretty sure like we know which ones will win. But then the fastest, then we put a nitrous kit, like 100-horse nitrous kit on the slowest one, and then we re-race the fastest one. We see who wins.
That's fantastic.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And it's like we're talking 20-second quarters.
This is
Like
gonna
very
be
slow.
great.
It's gonna be great.
This will be great.
So
We are seeing that though. Like everyone wants to drive now, and we're seeing actually, we have the sharing economy, right? And we
Yes.
bought a business that is focused on sharing vehicles, so drive share.
yeah, and is
So
that
you-
a thing in the vintage space as
You
well?
can go rent
Yeah.
any car.
crazy.
You go on the app and you look and see what's in the area, and you can go test out a car you've always wanted.
That's rad.
We were just in Monterey for Pebble Beach for the
Okay.
big Concours, and we had 6-8 cars at the Hagerty house up there that they were all drive share cars.
Really?
And it was
This is fascinating.
from Saabs to Mercedes and you name it. We had them. We had an
Yeah.
old Bronco. I mean, it's really cool
That is cool.
If you're out of town, you want that experience in that community, or in your community, you want to try something. It's really neat.
What can those range a day? Like,
I think a lot of the owners set the price.
yeah, it's like
it
a
might-
couple hundred,
couple
to
$100,
$1,000.
Yeah, and
It get
depending
crazy.
on what it is. I think the other thing it does is it also allows another entry point for someone to get into the industry.
That's right.
So they can offset their cost.
Right.
They can go buy a Mustang or whatever they want and rent it out to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's pretty exciting to see another generation start to jump in head
Yes.
first.
Especially utilizing tech, because the technology platform is what enables that to
Right.
be
Correct.
possible. Yeah, I think I did. Is it Turo? Is that another
Yeah,
one?
Another one.
I
Yeah.
did that in Arizona. I got this like Golf, like turbo Golf, like a 300 horsepower car. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Ripping that thing.
Right.
And what was
It's a
fun
good
about
idea,
it,
though, isn't
like
it?
they met me at the airport, like right at baggage claim. Then I dropped it off at the ticket counter. Like just they came and met me. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is making like, it's the same like with Airbnb. Like it's making it's like the kind of the essence of capitalism. Like it's making hotels rethink what they do. It's making traditional car rental things
Yeah.
change what they do.
We're shifting the entire behavior of the industry.
Yeah.
And we'll see that.
Okay, so what are the similarities? Let's talk about just kind of the kind of blend, because I know like muscle car guys are like in the old days like I'm a Ford guy, like I'm a Chevy guy. Like is there that thing in like the sports car world as well? Like I'm a Ferrari guy. Like
There's
your
diehards.
Porsche sucks.
Yeah, they maybe focus on a specific niche. But in general, I think you find a common bond amongst everybody.
Yeah.
They have appreciation.
Because I see it like more. I mean, maybe in like some circles, but I definitely like. I used to be a Chevy guy, but now I love everything.
Yeah.
Like I love Ford. Like you name it. If it's cool, I like it.
Right.
And I think I see that as a movement. Like young people are not so crazy about. Like I gotta have my Chevy 1500.
Nope. Nope. Not that I've seen.
I mean, it could probably still exist, but I think at the end of the day, everyone appreciates.
Yeah. So what are some of the? Because I think when I think muscle car culture, I think car show, drive in, put the hood up, get your lawn chair, a little like storyboard of like, oh, like here's what I did
This is
to
what
it.
I did.
Right.
Here's
Yeah.
my trophy, right?
So that's what I think of muscle car culture. When I think of, I mean, honestly, when I think of vintage, because the roots of vintage 4x4 is exploration,
Right.
adventure. So I think we're a little superior in that way. I'm just kidding.
I think, for me, I think my viewpoint might be maybe a little different, but I think it'll probably ring true for a lot of folks. So when I think of the vintage cars that I have,
Yes.
and why I have those cars, I bought each of the cars that I have for very particular reasons,
interesting.
for events.
Okay.
Right. So we'll give our friend Kelly Whitten and the Men's Art Council a plug here real quick.
Yeah. Amazing.
The Copper State 1000 rally in Arizona. And as I was putting together the cars that I own for a quote unquote collection, they had to be eligible to run that event.
Which is
1973 and older.
73 and older.
And so for me, it was a function of, do I like the car? Is it eligible?
Yes.
Because to me, the whole vintage car thing represents opportunity for me to go with my wife
Yes.
on an event. We get to drive an old vehicle together. We get to go hang out with like-minded people.
Very cool crowd.
We've met some of our best friends, I think, that I could ever imagine that I'd have.
Yeah, that's
through
cool.
these events. Guys like our joint friend Stu, and
Yeah.
I met Abe.
Chris,
I met
Ozzy.
Abe through
Yeah.
the vintage car world, and I think to me it's always been about how am I going to go utilize the vehicle.
I like that. So let's just dive in for 1 second on the Copper State, because that was an eye-opening. As I met you guys and got introduced to that community, I was like, this is crazy. Someone's really taking a 67 Ferrari, whatever, like very expensive rare car on a 1,000-mile road rally.
Right.
And they do.
Right.
So it is about driving. Pre-73, there's about 100, right? 100 cars.
Yeah, roughly.
200 plus people. And it's called the Copper State 1000. It's 1,000 miles.
Right.
It's rad.
Yeah.
4 days of driving, and you stop.
That's hard. Like in a new
And
car.
4 nights
Right.
and 4 nights of hanging out with really great, like-minded people.
That's awesome.
You pull into the parking lot at the end of the day. You got a cooler waiting for you, and you hang out and you talk shop.
That's awesome. And those events are all, there's like a Rams, isn't there like, there's like a Porsche, there's Porsche specific ones.
There's various events across the country at various times a year for other niches of the market.
Yeah.
Obviously, the one that we ran together, the three of us last year, was the Overland.
The Copper State Overland, which is an amazing event.
Yeah.
Much smaller due to the nature of the experience, right? It's 15 to 20
Correct.
vehicles pre-79. Funny story how that came to be arbitrarily 79.
I don't know the story.
Keith, maybe.
Is it Keith McLean?
Maybe
Really?
had a 79 Bronco that was like, he was on the board, the president or whatever.
That sounds about right.
So Keith, good going. His Bronco is pretty cool. I like those big Broncos.
Yeah.
So another incredible event. And what's cool is at every point from the financial spectrum, because there are 80s car ones. Like I can't remember what it's called, but there's like specifically like 1980 to 86, like, and they go drive. They have little autocross
Popping up
day.
everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, Abe, you see that those things are popping up all over.
Yeah,
the place.
Reasons.
and we're starting to host our own touring
cool,
series, and I
cool.
think a lot of people, they maybe want to commit for a weekend,
Yeah,
maybe 2 days, and they say, let's go drive. Right,
So
let's
cool.
meet up, have breakfast, and go drive, stay at a nice hotel, and come back the next day.
And I can't just from thinking forward, when it's like, yeah, you're not allowed to drive anymore. I think there's going to be special access through companies like Hagerty that can go, yes, we've cordoned off this, we have permits or whatever to just, it's going to be your role is going to be very important in that, the preservation of driving, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why, like, I've been with a company 13 years, and to see that vision, right? Because we could be tunnel vision and just sell insurance.
That's right.
That's one aspect. But
right.
to see the vision of what we're trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
and make sure we're protecting it for generations to come.
I mean, the HVA.
Oh, it inspires me. Like, that's
Yeah,
what it gets
that's
me
rad.
excited to get up every day.
Same. You look like you're excited out of your mind.
I'm stoked.
And just a little shout out. You just ran an Ironman, right?
I did.
That's impressive, dude.
So half Ironman.
Half Ironman.
I'm half of an Ironman.
Okay, but what is that? Give us the numbers.
70.1 or 2, I can't remember. So it's a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike ride,
Dude.
and a half marathon.
Yeah.
13.1.
How was it?
Awesome.
It was.
I had a blast.
How'd you feel?
Good.
Really?
Good. I didn't. I was a little sore the next day, but
A little sore, dude.
energy. It was a blast.
I'd be in the hospital.
I'd had a heart attack halfway through the swim.
It's like everyone was passing me on the bike and their tri bikes, but it was
Yeah.
it was an absolute blast.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
And
So
I think
cool.
that's part of it. Like, just experiencing life. Like that's the ethos we talk about. Like, why would you go out of your way to deal with the hassle? Because honestly, man, an old car can be a straight up headache and a hassle. I've been there. Like that's why we do the terribles. Like
Right.
the ethos of the terribles is, can we experience what our parents and grandparents had to experience, not because they wanted to, because they had to.
Right.
And so we go, we should have the competence to do that as well. So no fuel injection, no AC, barely heat. My truck doesn't have windshield wipers. Like, that's all the garbage they had to put up with 40 years ago.
But you're creating memories and a
For
story,
sure,
right?
dude. It's rich,
Like
man.
that's
It's rich.
that's what makes it worthwhile.
When you drive that vehicle that way, right? It's like us with any old vehicle we're driving. The first time I had an old 911 on the track, by
Yes.
God, I was Steve McQueen that day.
That's right.
And all the old
That's
boys
awesome,
on the
right?
track with their modern 911s that were passing me, they're coming in, oh, my shoulders are so sore from driving that thing.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
yeah.
the manual steering.
Like,
like-
what's going on, guys? Come on.
Right.
You guys used to drive these daily back.
That's
back
right.
then. So, yeah, for me, it's that whole throwback idea. But there is something nice about having something with a little bit
Insane,
more
dude.
modern convenience and
Right.
air conditioning and starts every
Right.
time. And
That's right. And that's why we
actually
do.
accelerates without hiccuping.
That's
and,
right.
You know,
I mean, that's
you know,
why
so-
we do what we do and what drives our business is like,
Yeah.
but I just like,
You
there's
guys, you
something-
guys are really blending that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you guys are really blending that nostalgia with something that you're confident and capable in.
That's right.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah, thank you. We work hard at it, and it's definitely like half. We wish it was more of a science. From a business perspective, it's kind of a tough business because it's an art, man, and it takes true craft, and you can't hire anybody. Like you have to have skills, and it's a lot of, because as we were talking earlier, like the scouts, they don't make. You can't buy a body. You can't buy a fender. You can't buy a windshield frame or a hood. You have to painstakingly restore all that stuff. And so interesting, I think I've shared this story, but talking to John Glancy, he's one of the kind of leading guys in like the preservation of the International Scout. He was telling me this story. I wish I was alive to like go see an IH dealership. I mean, you got to see that Scout in an implement kind of environment. Which
we
would
have
have been
parts for it in the parts department.
that is rad.
Yeah,
So I
it was
wish I
cool.
got to see that. I've never been able to see that. Actually, a shout out to John and Super Scout Specialists. They have the closest. They've kind of recreated a dealership in Ohio. So if you're ever in Ohio, go check them out. It's really, they have a Scout 300 miles on it.
Wow.
It's the closest thing you're ever going to get to seeing a Scout in a showroom setting. But yeah, so just getting back and connecting with those roots. But John was telling me in '79 in 1983 he bought a 1979 Scout, so 4 years old, and the first thing he did to it was replace the quarters and rockers. So that tells you in 4 years they were already rusted out. I can't believe it.
Right.
So it actually makes it special to see the ones that aren't rusty today and they're 45 years old, like how special and rare that is. But we also try to make sure that they're going to last longer than 4 years.
Right.
So putting coatings, like International just did not care. I don't think they cared.
I'm sure there were some financial decisions in there
Yeah,
too.
right. But they
You
just
know?
didn't coat. Like they could have just used, I know it was the 70s, but some coatings, like they just put bare metal stuff like
Right.
behind panels, like just bare metal. And it's like 3 years, donezo.
I got a comment touring your headquarters.
Yeah, Humble World
and
Headquarters.
seeing your operation and seeing what you do, it inspires me like no other. Like your taste, you're truly an artist.
Oh,
and
thanks.
watching
It's a
what
team,
you
man.
build and how you take into consideration the owner
Yeah, that's the funnest
and how
part.
you do that,
The
like
process?
the integration.
Yeah.
To me, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's definitely a joy, and and at the same time, we have to run a business, and so like
Sure.
and we really believe in like we want to touch every. Well, that sounds terrible.
Right.
We want to help everybody at every level.
Impact.
So we have part sales. We have part sales, educational videos. Like we're launching a whole tech tip series, like Hagerty, I'm sure does, about how to build an engine, how to get a rusty bolt off, like
Right.
just to help the DIYers, DEYers, help those people to like drivability conversions to straight up full art like pieces of art, functional pieces of art. And so that's been a joy. Okay, so how do we help? This has been great, you guys. Really fun conversation. And you got Scouts. So you're a rare Dukes. You have actually some original vintage 4x4s, and you have vintage sports cars.
Yep.
You have modern sports cars. Like this would be considered a modern sports car.
Got one. Yeah.
That's just interesting. So talk a little bit more, not to put you on the spot, but just talk a little bit more about like how do you feel when you get in each one of those categories? Like what emotions does it evoke? What is the
Yeah. For me, every time I hop in that Super Scout, I'm back in high school.
Yeah, so
I'm
I love
looking
that.
for my best buddy Carson, and we should have our Super Soakers with us, and we should be out targeting unsuspecting people in that vehicle. So yeah, in that vehicle, I'm in high school, and when I'm in a vintage, 911 and bending the law of what I should be doing in that car. By God, I'm Steve McQueen, just 100 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
And the modern stuff, it was I bought this particular car because it's the closest last thing in my opinion to the old original 911 ethos from the 60s and 70s, and it's alive in that car. And This
Because
was probably
this is still a driver's car.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's I don't know, it's one of those cars that you bought and you're like, geez, that's probably not the smartest thing ever. And now you look at it in the garage or out in the shop, I'm like, yeah, that was a great idea.
That's a great idea.
move.
Yeah.
But no, with the Scouts that I've got, it's the one Scout is very much I'm back to high school.
Yeah, because you also have like one that's a little more just you're gonna kind of
Yeah.
use it, abuse it a little
Yeah.
bit, which is rad.
My wife and I picked that up over in Hawaii a year ago, so you can imagine how rust free that one is.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a great time. It's got a terrible lift kit on it, and
Fun.
it's it's 345. It would fit in well with the terribles.
That's right. Which, by the way, we are going to Moab in May. Stu's going. A couple dudes are going. So
Oh, there we go.
Scout
Abe and I are
meetup
going.
in May.
Abe and I are going.
Moab.
Really?
It'll be amazing.
I
Trust
think
me,
we
blow
ought to
your
go.
mind.
Yeah.
Moab's a magical place, and it's just so fun. So
That'd be a riot.
let's do it.
Let's go.
And it's
I'm in.
more
Let's
fun
go.
with a carburetor.
There, well, then we're set. That's what we
really
got.
set.
No, and truly, it's to me, it's the hobby it changed my life.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Right? I mean, it totally changed my life, and that this hobby I was fortunate enough to get into, and in the occupation I was in, that I was able to acquire some fun stuff, and the more fun stuff and the more fun things that I did, and the more fun people I met, and
Right.
it became this family of car people.
Yep.
And I realized that in the past year that I should really try and pursue that on a day-to-day basis. So
Right.
I gave up my 20-year career in finance and called Abe one afternoon and said, "Hey, I think I need to go work with you guys and
That's good,
try
man.
something else."
Because that's interesting. That's a whole nother topic.
It is. It is.
But
It is. But-
aligning
Right.
your passions.
So it was simply
Oh, yeah.
right. It was an
Career.
opportunity to go work with friends, work with a company I really respect.
That's right.
That has a vision that I believe in.
Yep.
And I get to come do stuff like this every day.
It's awesome.
I mean,
man.
I'm in heaven
Right.
in here, buddy.
Right.
That's
I could be buried in this place.
Right?
That's right.
Abe, if I go down with a heart attack this afternoon, bring me back here.
That's right.
Call Jen.
Yeah.
I'll
Tell
take
her
the car.
Yeah, take the car. Tell Jen Trent's buried with the Scouts.
Yeah,
So
that's
it'll be
right.
great.
Cool. So one more question for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So doing like 100 around, like, I know you haven't taken this to the track, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you can envision it. Is like doing 100 in a vintage 911, like doing like 50 in this thing, or vice versa. Doing like
Yeah. So
you know
like,
what I'm saying, like
like this thing. So like this thing doing. Yeah, like a solid 9110 in a corner.
Yeah.
Is seriously like doing 65 in
Okay.
an old
So
911.
it's
The limits of
handles
grip
well, yeah.
and the technology change is absolutely
Yeah.
there. It's no different than driving, a new Legend.
right versus
My Super Scout.
Right.
The capabilities are two totally different
Yeah.
things,
And a new principle that I've been, because I haven't really, when people send us their trucks, like we always try to manage expectations. Because so we've come up with this new thing. You have to drive what you have. And so even if you have an original Scout with an LS conversion and some upgrades in the drivability, it's still a 45-year-old vehicle, like on a stock leaf sprung suspension. So you can't just expect it to be
Right.
a 2005 or a 2017 Raptor. It's just a different beast. And I always say this, like you kind of alluded to it earlier. Like, dude, new cars are so much better than old cars. Doesn't mean they're cooler, but like as far as like the technology matters.
TG Mittler, dear friend of ours.
Yeah.
You've met
I know him.
TG.
Yeah, great guy.
Yes, we were all overlanding together last year. So TG and I did a rally together in Colorado, the Colorado Grand,
Okay.
in his C3 Cunningham race car.
Okay.
And man, we felt like we were the dudes, right? Like,
That's awesome.
like we're hustling this big old heavy, Hemi powered, straight geared Le Mans race car
Okay.
down the road. And I'm driving, and I'm like, boy, I'm pretty fast this thing. And TG leans over and goes, yeah, for as fast as we think we are, that minivan can outrun us.
That's hilarious.
Right
Fall
now,
by,
That's crazy.
And it's the truth. I mean, it's
Right.
just, but it's just a whole.
But they'll never, I mean, maybe someday they'll be as cool, but
Well,
they
you're
don't
just-
evoke the same emotion. They don't
No.
evoke the same community experience.
Right.
Because you
Right.
show up, I'm serious. This is a cool car, and I love it. But you show up with, like, any one of the, like, Green Scout
Yeah.
that's behind there, to a group of young people, and I guarantee that will have a bigger crowd.
Without a doubt.
Isn't that crazy?
When I'm driving Scouts in Omaha,
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
a crowd everywhere.
Yeah.
I drive this, and I'm just a jerk. That guy.
That's this guy.
We were just talking about like modern. So I have a Jeep Wrangler.
Right.
In
Oh,
the
cool.
summer I run with the doors off.
Yeah,
and the
which
top,
is cool.
And I have a blast. And it's whatever people get excited about, that's great. But I don't feel the same as if I'm driving in a vintage vehicle.
Yeah.
Like you roll in and it's just the nostalgia and the excitement.
It smiles on people's faces.
Yeah.
It's rad.
And I'm riding over to Trent. I'm like, I want to sell the Jeep and get something fun.
Yeah. And I do commend Jeep because, like, think about the experiential vehicles available today. And, like, I see young people all around Ames driving four doors off, top off. And I'm like, that is so cool, man. They're getting that, like, to them, that they're getting that same vibe with you in
their
high
freedom.
school.
Sure, absolutely.
And
That
I
is the
appreciate
ultimate
it.
in freedom, right?
Because Jeep, it's not easy to meet modern safety standards and to do what they do. So I really do appreciate that they're still making fun, something that's fun and memorable, not just low visibility and boring.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And a new generation of people are having that experience, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. But would I trade it in a heartbeat for a Scout?
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, thank you so much, man, for being on the show. Again,
Sean.
doing this impromptu. Great conversation. I've enjoyed spending the day with you. Look forward to doing more trips with you guys, having experiences, maybe more podcasts, whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
And thank you to Hagerty for doing what you do and preserving driving. Man. It's such a good thing to keep fighting for. So until next time, see you guys later.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.